Hi, I'm Frank Pigueros from San Mateo, California.
And I'm Steve Hosher from Livermore, California. We're here at the Sacramento Autorama in the Dominator Street Rods booth. This is my 32 two-door sedan. We're here today to look at all the nice cars here. And the first car we're going to look at is Tim Kerrigan's 1933 Roadster. It is in competition here and was in competition at the Grand National Roadster Show. It is in competition today. The judges are looking at it right now. And it's a very prestigious competition. If you look around here, as we'll show you later, there's a lot of beautiful cars. Big crowd, which is good. The show is drawing a big crowd today, and that's a good thing. But the level of quality around here is very evident. There's a lot of talented people here. Dominator Street Rods is certainly one of them. But there's a lot of talented shops that build these incredible vehicles.
Tim, you're on camera.
This is Tim Kerrigan.
I'm watching him. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's okay. He's watching the judges right now. That's his car right here that's in competition. It is a 33 Ford built by Dominator Street Rods. Well, this is the second time this car has been in competition in this particular color and everything. It was down at Pomona, and it was in competition for the America's Most Beautiful Roadster. It won Best Paint, Best Engine, and Best Detail at Pomona, and now it's here in Sacramento in competition. The car was initially built by Dominator to be in the Detroit Autorama at the Grade 8. It got picked in the Grade 8 back there.
And when was that? That was back in...
That was quite a few years ago now. I want to say that's probably 6 or 7 years ago, maybe farther. But it was a different color. It was red, but it was a different color, and it had a different color interior. And it also had the same motor, but different induction. Things were different in the induction system, different wheels, that kind of stuff. So basically, they pulled this car entirely apart. The amount of detail that went into this car is spectacular. And the amount of customization. Paul Blatt, who works for Leonard Lopez at Dominator, did the body on this car, and he's a genius.
Man, talk a little bit about that motor. That's unbelievable.
It's a twin cam Ford, supercharged Ford motor.
You know what else is worth pointing out, I think, is that this is actually a scaled up version of an original 33 Roadster,
yes.
Meaning the original 33 Roadster would have been slightly smaller in length and width, and I believe something like 80% of the sheet metal was hand fabricated from flat stock.
Yes.
Right?
The cowl, the doors, the front
hood,
fenders, the hood,
the trunk lid.
The trunk lid, everything. The doors were lengthened, the chassis, because the chassis is longer than original. At some point, we're going to talk to Paul Blatt, the man who did the metalwork on this, to sit down and have a good conversation with him to hear from one end to the other the extent of modifications he did to this car.
And actually fabrication.
From stock, from nothing.
Stock sheet metal.
Flat sheet metal, because some of it is, technically a 33, but then, like you say, 80% of it is custom, hand formed.
Unbelievable, just
yes,
unbelievable.
It is.
Steve, the rear end that has the disc brakes.
The inboard discs, yeah. Somewhat like the old Jags. This is a quick change rear end, so if you look at the back cover, you can pull the cover and change gear ratios relatively easy. And with the cantilever shocks, you can't see any shocks here because they're on an angle. A lot of the suspension is race car inspired. Just to think this up, let alone to achieve it, is you have to have a lot of talented people to build a car of this quality, and a lot of these cars. I mean, don't get me wrong, not just this one. We're going to see a lot today that are the same story, that it takes a lot of talented people to achieve something like this.
I mean, like I was telling Leonard, the owner of Dominator Street Rods, I mean, every time I look at this vehicle, I just see more, and I'm just drawn to it.
More detail,
every
more
aspect of the car.
There's because so much is custom made on this. All the stainless trim.
It's all out of raw stock, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember him saying that was a challenge to get the stainless trim along that rear quarter to follow the profile of the quarter panel.
And
because it's actually a complex. It not only it bends in 3 directions, right?
Yes. And we could stand here for hours and look at this thing over and over again and still, continue to see more and more things.
And this has modern, like electronic fuel
injection, yes.
controlled by a
Computer.
computer and so forth. So
yes. It can.
It offers full range of drivability.
Absolutely.
From performance to
you can
excellent,
sit.
excellent gas mileage.
You can sit. Well, I don't know about that so much because it's supercharged, but you might be pushing it a little bit. But nonetheless,
the owner probably doesn't care too much.
Yeah, I don't
about
think
the
he really
gas
cares
mileage.
about that. But quite honestly, you could sit in traffic, commute in it theoretically. I mean, if you were, it'll do fine sitting in traffic. It'll do fine going to Tahoe if you want during the summer with altitude. It's adjust. The electronic fuel injection will take care of all that. So
That's a full-time roadster, so there's no.
I don't think there's any windows in this car.
Yeah, there's no top that goes with it. It's a full-time
Yeah,
roadster.
right, exactly. So it's a real deal.
So during this phase of the
Judging.
judging, they're obviously taking a very close look at the chassis. Got three judges working this car.
Yeah, they're all over this
This is
thing.
the level of judging that takes place at this elite class of
Competition.
competition.
We're here. This particular car is my 32. Just to give you a quick run through of what's been done to it so far. Dominator Street Rod is doing all the work on it. The top has been very, very slightly chopped. 1 inch in front, 3/4 of an inch in back. It currently has a LS3 motor in it, and the interior was done by Sid Shavers in Santa Clara. And right now it's bare steel because it's an all original 32 body. And hopefully today it might get pinstriped because it's going to stay bare steel for a few years until I decide what I want to do with it after that. I still haven't decided, but
Can you talk a little bit about the chassis?
chassis is
Suspension?
a custom chassis, all coil-over suspension, 4-wheel disc brakes, all modern rack and pinion steering. It has air conditioning. It's a modern car with a 32 body is what it is.
Intended to do some cruising.
It's built to cruise. I gotta say hi. Steve, how the hell are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Man, that thing is unbelievable.
Came out pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it came out okay.
Selling money.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
How you
Frank
doing?
Figueros, how are
How
you?
you doing, Frank?
Steve is the gentleman responsible for the paint on that car.
You're live.
You're on camera
You're
right
on
now.
camera.
And you're world famous now. They're gonna put a name to the paint now.
Within
to
a
the painter.
3-block radius.
Well, that's okay. And he does. Do you do all the paint out of Dominator?
All the custom.
All the custom paint. So that's quite a bit. That's
Hey,
a lot
so
of paint.
tell me a little bit about that paint job, man. I still can't.
It's a 4-stage candy, and the color was worked out with Tim exclusively. We went
The owner.
back and forth. Yes.
The owner, Tim Kerrigan. Yeah.
And we went back and forth. He wanted the candy, but we also wanted it not to be more of a flake type candy. We wanted it to be a real smooth candy. So we use pearls, but there's a unique undercoat underneath that's very brilliant. It's like a pewter color underneath, and that enables the light to go through the candy and light it up. Outside, it's a different color.
So what's the base color then underneath?
It's a, I could show you on my phone, but it's like a pewter.
What is that
it's
like?
Really brilliant. It's like a metallic.
It's like a
but
gold or something.
It's silver, but
It's a silver.
Extremely fine.
That's
Extremely
crazy,
fine.
man. So that's how you're able to get that depth. I mean, it's
Right.
unbelievable.
That's the whole concept
It's
of
like
candy.
super wet and like
But,
you can
but in between that, there is a pearl too.
a pearl.
Yeah, there's the red pearls in there, and there's a candy apple red and candy brandy. It's a whole process and a formula. So we tried to make a unique. With House of Color, it's easy. You just gotta imagine.
But is that sort of composition of these different types of paint sort of unique, or?
Well, that's what House of Color brings to the table. You know, it gives you so many options.
That's a supplier.
Yes, House of Color is the manufacturer of the product.
That's crazy.
And I've worked for them, so I at one time, so I'm very familiar with how far you can go or what you can't do, or but it's an unlimited.
And then it just got tons of clear on top of it, or how? Like
It's been cleared twice on top.
just twice?
Well,
Wow.
it's 4 coats each time, but yeah. And the reason for that,
okay. So it's like 8 coats of clear.
Right. So the reason for that is you can cut it flat, and then when you recoat it, it just lays out even better. It gives you more protection. So if you really want to do a serious rub out, which we did, you start off with 800, and then you end up with 5,000.
5,000, unbelievable.
Let's see, but see, that's the difference between somebody that the experience. I mean, and not only does he know how to color paints and what he can do with them, where his boundaries are, but to have the imagination to say, well, if we do this, it's gonna do that. It's to get that.
It's more than people know. There's a team behind me, a guy named Tony and Jordan. They're very responsible for the actual final finish because those guys did all the rub out, and that's a lot of work.
That
So
is a lot of
I mean,
work.
what kind of man hours? Do you have any idea, like in terms of just
It's up tons.
I mean,
Big checkbook.
yeah.
no, I mean, I'm just it's
Yeah.
just is for. I mean, after the body work is done, and then now it's. I guess when it's turned over to the paint guys, they still have to do some little bit of finish.
Well,
You have to do blocking
it's
out and
blocked,
stuff.
It's blocked, and
So that's
it's checked,
considered
and
part of
it's-
that.
Yeah.
So I mean, are you talking like? I mean,
Couple
Is
of
it
thousand, yeah,
hours?
oh no
Yeah.
kidding!
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
Even more than
smokes,
that.
man.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really
And
know.
that's after basically the body work is done, and now you're just going to paint for the blocking and all that, and then painting. You're talking
This is the first
north
time.
north of 1,000 man hours.
It's the first time an owner ever went in the booth with me. I let him go in the booth with me. He sat in the corner.
And just watched.
He just wanted to know, so I let him. I
That's
had no
wild.
problem with it. He was really cool, and I think he enjoyed himself. So.
And he
first
learned
time.
something.
Yeah,
And
he
So,
learned
so you
something.
got to sit on a stool and kind of watch
He
how.
watched, yeah. He
That
hung
is so
out
cool.
with me, and
That
he
is
helped
so
me
cool.
when he could.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was fun, and I think the big reward is how he feels about it, of course, and we nailed it. He said so.
Absolutely.
That's all I could say.
And that's the thing. At the end of the day, no matter how many trophies it has, if the owner likes it, if the owner loves this car, then that's the name of the game. That's your objective, is to get him happy.
Exactly.
Because he's the guy signing the checks. It's his car. Everybody wants to win awards, but if he walks out in his garage and opens the door and looks at it, and he's happy, then you did your job. That's
The
simple
color,
as that.
the color was crucial in this pick.
Yeah.
But it's not just my paint; it's the interior. How well he put everything together. He
Yeah.
had a vision in his head. I mean, some customers just don't have that.
Yeah, that's true. And
It's
it came out
unbelievable.
perfect. I mean, it looks stunning. And I would imagine this paint would probably pop more in the sun if it was
Absolutely.
outside.
We haven't seen it.
we haven't
yet.
seen it in the sun. We've only seen it
we,
under lights.
I have once, and it's it was like boom,
Yeah.
lights came on. It's
know.
a different car outside. It really is, and that's where the light goes through the pearls, hits that metallic at the bottom,
And bounces
and
back.
that where it doesn't light through because you got a red film on top, and it allows it to go through because it's transparent. That red candy red is transparent.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, job well done, man.
Yeah,
I gotta
it's
tell you,
fantastic.
I mean, we've hit a lot of car shows over the years, and I mean, I have no skin in the game here, but I haven't been this enthusiastic about a build. I mean, just as a fan, and I can't even remember the last time.
Yeah,
I mean, every time I've seen it, I saw it in Pomona. I must have looked at it 50 times in
Oh, yeah.
Pomona.
Absolutely.
And then seeing it here, it even looks better than it did in. I mean,
Yeah.
it just every time I see it, I see it's a different. It just adds on to the experience, man. It's
And
unbelievable.
you keep picking up more and more detail
Yeah.
every time you look at it too, which is, you can spend hours looking at this car and pick up more details.
And to
to
think of
so.
it, that most of that came from flat stock. I mean, the body. That was Paul, right?
Yeah, Paul's
Yeah.
pretty talented.
I mean,
The
that's,
car's lengthened and widened and sectioned, and I mean, you know, and
it's
still
still
trying to
it's I can't get my head around that. Quite honestly.
Well, and that's the thing, and I never realized this obviously until I started dealing with Leonard and Dominator. The different things, their imagination, honestly, I mean, to do something like that is beyond my level of thinking, because I wouldn't think of that. To do what they did to this car It's ridiculous. I mean, in some ways, but it's phenomenal because of the results.
But Leonard has a lot to do with that too, because he has the one that has to say green light or red light.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Right.
And you know, he has the final say. But it's real important to have a team that is free thinking, you know, in that sense. And he does pretty much let us go. He just said, Steve, deal with Tim and the owner, and we just did our magic, you know.
Right. And it is magic. I mean,
But
that
if it
is.
was the wrong color, I'm sure Leonard would step in.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like, whoa.
He might pump the brakes there.
Yeah. Pump the
Yeah,
brakes.
I mean, he's very, very reasonable. So
Well, and it's good too that Leonard. I mean, he's been in the business for so long. He you know, I mean, his experience helps too. So there's so much experience at that shop between you, Leonard, Paul. I mean, a lot of these guys have a lot of
and
experience.
we've known each other for
Forever too.
35, 40 years.
Right. So,
It's not
you know,
like, you know.
That's got to be a big factor.
Yeah, I
too.
never thought I'd ever even work for Dominator, but you know, it just kind of strolled in one day and do a flame
You've been
job.
Dominator for that long.
No,
No.
not- just recently in the
Oh.
last 3 or 4 years.
But you.
Worked for myself pretty
Yeah.
much, but I strolled in and did a job for him, and of course we always got along. It's just
Yeah.
just kind of needed me more and more.
which is good.
Yeah,
You know?
I it's probably the best experience I ever had working with somebody.
Well, good.
Really? Excellent.
And it's good too that you worked with Tim. Tim knew what he wanted. I mean, he had a vision in his head. You know, but yeah, you're one of the unsung heroes. Put it that way, because I think that car is spectacular.